Hi there, and a huge and very warm welcome to Fire Dragon Journeys, and welcome to the second part of our 4 elemental quests. But if you are joining for the first time now, fear not, we are going to go around the circle again. This is our second journey together. We worked with the air dragons back in February, and now in March, as we have just passed through the equinox, we just moved through the spring equinox into Aries season, which is the first fire sign of the year. It couldn't be a more powerful time to connect with the element of fire. And there is a very specific way in which the fire dragons have come through to work with us at this time. However, you follow your own unique guidance that comes through to you. I'm going to share in this video a bit about the fire dragons, a bit about the connection and the content of the next few days, and also the way in which the dragons have showed up, asking for us to connect with them, particularly as we're at this point right now, just tipping over the equinox here in the northern hemisphere into the lighter days of spring, and in the southern hemisphere, of course, moving into autumn. There's liminal times, there's in-betweens, we're shifting in between seasons. And also full moon this weekend, anybody? And add to that, how about we open the eclipse portal here as well? So I don't believe that it's a coincidence that we're working. I mean, I know I set the dates, but I didn't know there was an eclipse this weekend when I first planned out the dates. So I don't think for any reason that there is any, sort of coincidence that we're in this space. This, and particularly with what the dragons have come through to work with, it feels like such a powerful time to work with them. And so if you are ready for this journey, let us get fired up. Let's shift our altars, our energy, respectfully sending our love to the air elementals, and knowing that we need the air dragons to create a healthy fire. So those all elements still work with us at the same time, but moving our focus towards fire. Now, if you haven't done sort of much dragon work before, fear not. The fire dragons are pretty much the most human friendly of all the dragons, pretty much. Now, that might sound like a surprise if you've watched like any movie involving dragons, particularly that, even recently there's the new movie on Netflix called Damsel with a lot of fire, and it's originally it's a normal trope of dragon burning woman, which of course instills fear into people, and I think that's what it was meant to do, not that film but that trope many years ago. Because if you look to the east, you'll find a much more benevolent view of dragons. So they're not hyped as the big evil, they are part of nature, and nature of course brings wonder, brings weather, brings storms, brings chaos, brings friendship, brings help, brings hope, and transformation. And when we connect with the dragons, and I know I've spoken about this before in Dragons Awakening, you will see a difference, I think, between the Eastern and the Western dragons. They are how they've been visualized, how they are seen, and physiologically, it's like the Eastern dragons are more slender, more flowing in that way, and the Western ones are a bit more muscular, and the ones that we see often in movies. So there's a difference, and you can see for yourself in your journeys how they are in personality as well. Do they differ? Is there a different energy between the dragons in the east and the dragons in the west? And how much is that to do with land? How much is that to do with the relationship with humans? It's interesting thoughts. Anyway, that's slightly taking me off the subject, but we're going to be working with the element of fire, and fire is perfect, as I've mentioned, for this season. We're in Aries, we're coming towards the spring in this time of year in the northern hemisphere, and if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's a different kind of fire. It's that shifting, kind of putting the fire on the hearth fire feeling if you're in a place where the world is getting a bit cooler at this time. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's when the sun is gaining strength, and the sun is the sun and the stars are the sparks of fire that are the heart of everything. So this eclipse season, as I have mentioned, there's something the dragons are coming forward to share with us. So the eclipse on Sunday night, Monday, it's in Libra. It's a lunar eclipse, so it's in Libra, which is about partnerships, relationships, how we show up for others, how we show up for ourselves, where's the balance in our lives. Our lives. And the sun, as I've mentioned, is in Aries. So it's the self, the individual, the go for it, the kind of the, I want this, but how do I turn up in my relationships? I do feel like this is, of course, going to affect our relationships, but also rebalancing our relationship with ourselves. And we can see eclipses as like portals we're stepping through. We're moving through the energy. And that's how the dragons wanted to work with us through this time. In the air dragons and in the other elemental dragons, we are really looking at bodies of land. As I've mentioned, a lot about this is getting out there and getting to know the land and the dragons and the spirits of the land and honouring them. And we will be doing this, of course, in fire dragons as well. But there's something about the fire dragons wanted to look at within ourselves, as in our physicality, our bodies being our temple, how we turn up for ourselves, how we are physically in the world. And also, if the weather is lovely enough, or if you only get moments of sunshine, to bask in the sun, to go out into your favourite spots, into your dragon places. If you found a few already that you really like, enjoy the energy of the warmth and going out to a sacred place, your own, either it's something that you find deeply sacred or that's, that is well known to be sacred, and to connect with the warmth and the awakening of the land, the quickening of the land. And so, yeah, there's a couple of ways the dragons came through to share this this weekend with us. We'll come back to the transformation of the eclipse in just a second, but the physicality and the earth and the land. So people often think of fire dragons, and quite rightly so, as being, you think of the landscape, you think of deserts, volcanoes, those kind of extremely fiery places. And if you live in a place that's like that, then you get to really experience the true force of the fire dragons. And also, they wanted to share, which comes through the meditation as well, that they're not just here about being destructive and fiery and burning it all to the ground. As we witness this time of the year, the flowers turn their faces to the sun. The petals open to the sun. There is the warmth that creates a fertility in the land. Nothing would live if it was not for the warmth and the fire of the sun. So fire in a healthy, balanced amount and parts of our lives brings life. And this is the thing the dragons really wanted to bring up, that this is, people see fire dragons as kind of these extremely big emotions and passions, which we'll also go into, but there is something for gentleness or an essentialness of a flower opening to the sun. And that as we emerge from winter, as we emerge from the equinox and the eclipse period, that we are going to be opening in our own journeys. We may be taking off parts of cleanliness, parts of our lives that we don't need anymore. And we may be allowing a new energy to come in. We may be allowing ourselves to open up and be more creative, more courageous, more relaxed, more warm, moving more. All these things also relate to fire. And so these are the fiery energies that the dragons will be wanting to bring in. So there is a feeling of being out in the land and feeling the power of fire, the power of warmth, quickening and stirring and bringing everything to life. So you may just want to meditate on a flower opening. You may want to lie down in the grass if it's not too soggy and feel the warmth on your skin. You may want to see how your moods shift as the light returns. So this is about returning power and returning warmth. Doesn't mean we're not going to get more fierce and feisty, but as we open towards this powerful pocket of time that we're dedicating to the dragons, let's begin with the feeling of warmth, with the feeling of light, and with the essential fertility that warmth and fire brings. It brings us comfort in the winter. Nothing more lovely than putting on than lighting a fire and sitting by it. And whether you're in your hearth and you have a fire at home and you can listen to the crackling of the fire and journey into the flames, or if you're sitting outside and you have a fire going and you can warm your drum and play, this ancestral feeling. So fire brings us comfort in the winter, and it brings us hope and stirring and awakening and re-sparking in the spring. Things out there in nature that felt like they were never going to come back to life start blossoming with the water and with the fire and with the air and of course the earth. So this is the feeling that I would love you guys to focus on, especially for the first part of this weekend or the first part of this work, is about stirring and awakening. And as we're seeing that happening in the world around us, the fire dragons are encouraging us to see that within ourselves. What is stirring? What is awakening? Given the right warmth and light, what part of ourselves are we revealing? Are we opening up to? And that sounds lovely, but it can sometimes be a bit of a tough journey. And hence we are brought back to the eclipse. Eclipses realign us, and they don't care how they do it. Like, you know, you on the wrong track, get back over here. If you're being less than, maybe you know you can be. Or if you're giving too much to people and you're exhausted, maybe you're not giving enough to the people and you're just closing down. If you're not giving time to your creativity, to your passions, to your love, if you know, there's plenty of ways the eclipses can hit, and they always do a bit of a wild card. But the idea of this kind of within and without, the partnership of Libra, the harmony of Libra, and the fire of Aries is to bring us back into harmony, into unison with our soul, with ourself, this relationship. And also as we do that in relationship with the dragons. So it's going to really maybe shift our relationship with the dragons as we go through this portal, as we go through this transformation. As always, I expect this to work for you all in your own unique way. And also, if you don't get time to do it this weekend, as always, it doesn't matter. I would say if you can work through this before we get towards the Beltane season, that would be great. But we're in that time of quickening, of fire, of warmth for a while now. I mean, it's a nice day today, but we've had just a lot of sogginess. So we're getting into, hopefully, more opening, warm times, she says. And so allow yourself the time to not rush. You don't, again, a flower doesn't rush its opening to the sun, and neither should you. But also there's an element of not avoiding it. Shake the finger. There's an element of letting it happen, but sometimes we can go, I know if I open to that, or if I focus on that, then it's going to be a bit crunchy. You know, I'm going to feel guilt or shame or embarrassed or weird, or I might, even awful than that, I might feel happy. We're so good at holding back happiness sometimes. So there's a balance, equinox balance, between just being gentle with yourself. If you need to take your time, but also showing up for yourself and showing up for the dragons, because this element, where's my little fire dragon gone? There he is, this little beautiful fire dragon there. This energy is about showing up for you and kickstarting into spring, or kickstarting into the new season. And there's no better way to do it than with a fire dragon. So, I think I showed this before. Look at this again, because it is fire dragon season. Look at this perfect journal that I have. So, as mentioned, you may find the eclipse time to be quite intense. It may have hit before already. There may be things that have come up. It will be really clear to show you what you're not taking with you into the next phase of your journey. It'll just be super clear, or what you've been avoiding dealing with, or what, you know, we know how it goes. And as we're seeing it as like this portal, this kind of moving through the full moon, moving into this next chapter, and we feel it in the meditation as well, I would love this weekend to be like a cleansing fire. You know, fire rituals come up for so many different reasons. And one reason they come up, and we'll be doing with different fire energies over the next few days, is for cleansing. And you know, in the olden days, people would walk cattle through two fires at Beltane and Samhain. It would be cleansing. It would be clearing the energy. It was meant to be getting rid of disease, getting rid of bad energy. And so we are going to go through a little cleansing. We may not be able to walk through two fires, or even one fire. We may not even be able to light a fire. Again, if you're working with fire, I have to be, I know you know this, I have to say it, be careful. And also maybe work with other people, or I let people know what you're doing. And know that fire is an amazing element. And if it gets out of control, and if we don't show strong boundaries and respect, then it can be dangerous. It can be harmful. I think I've said this before, but the only time I've ever burnt, I'm a fire performer. If you didn't know, I do fire rituals, and I've done that for many years now. And the only time I've ever burnt myself doing a ritual or doing a fire performance once was when I was not holding strong boundaries and I let myself down, and I really burnt my hand, because the fire was like, you're not doing, come on, you let yourself get in a situation. It's not okay. So, and when, of course, things can always happen, but when I approach fire with honor, with respect, with honoring the spirits of the fire dragons, the salamanders, the union, the harmony you have with fire is just absolutely wonderful. And I can hold fire really close and, experience all these things and it not hurt or burn or cause any problems. But the minute, you let that respect down, you let the guard down in that way, or don't be respectful to them or to the fire, or just be in a bit of a hurry and not thinking things through, then that's when things start to flare up. So fire is such a good teacher because you don't get second chances. You burn your hand, so it's such a good teacher of your own boundaries. You can feel that. When does your fire feel full? When does your fire feel diminished? What feeds your fire? What steals energy? What puts it out? That can be situations, it can be people. And I think of this eclipse, we're going to be really in tune with that. What situations feed your fire? What diminishes it? And really focusing our energy on the things that support and nurtures and nourishes us, which is something that fire dragons really want us to work on. It's, as I mentioned, our physical body opening to the sun, filling ourselves with good fire, with that boundless illumination that we can share with the world without diminishing. Doing the things that bring us that wonderful spark of creativity, of magic, of joy, of love, of passion. And dancing. That's coming tomorrow, guys. Fear not. I know you're probably thinking, I am afraid now you said dancing, Laura. Because what is a beautiful way of expressing fire, but in physical movement, the power of our bodies, the fire of movement in our bodies. And don't worry if you don't want to dance, or physically, you would like to dance, but you physically find it painful. There could just be some movements, there could be some visuals, there could be just some small things that help you move forward there. So that's for tomorrow's journey. And even if not, you can visualize yourself doing it. So it's a kind of a gentler meditation today, but tomorrow we're going to get a bit more, the fire's going to build, okay? So we're starting with a bit of kindling. We're starting to slowly awakening something within us. We're not going straight into the inferno. We're just kindling that spirit fire. And then tomorrow we're going to go and build it up. We're going to make those wishes. We're going to call in the things we want to call in. We're going to move towards that full moon eclipse with fire and passion in our hearts. And then we're going to go to the live next Sunday as planned. So we'll get the week to work through all the energies that have come up. There'll be suggestions of a couple of rituals, and you can, as I mentioned earlier, I got sidetracked. Sorry, bringing it back to the rituals. You may want. I was saying earlier, wasn't I, that you could jump over fire or have a fire. And then I went on to a health and safety thing, and I'll just come back round. Health and safety is important, obviously. I know you all know that. But with fire, how can you have a safe fire ritual, possible fire ritual? In the most, non-fire way, you could really clearly but very powerfully visualize yourself passing through a circle of flames, two flames either side you. You could play some music that's fiery. You could, have scents in your house that thinks of fire energy. You don't have to have a literal fire. Our senses are very powerful. So a scent, maybe the sound of a crackling fire, maybe something else that really makes you feel warm and feisty, and then just visualize yourself going through this ring of fire, or this two fires you're walking through. And as you do, you're cleansing, you're leaving behind what's come up to be released, what you do not need anymore, what no longer serves you. Fire is the best cleanser in that way, the best clearer. With real fire, you can do this with writing it down, and obviously burning the paper. So you write down as much letter to a word of what you're clearing, and you can ritually burn that piece of paper and see, as the paper burns, as fire transforms, you're watching the fire transform the paper, that emotion, that feeling, that situation is also being transformed. And or you could jump over a fire, walk past a fire if you have that ability. And don't burn yourselves, please. But you could have, or just walk around a bonfire, walk around, put your hand over a candle. You know, there's so many ways you can work with fire without in a way that's going to be healthy and good for you. Dance around the fire and release and release and release. So the first part of this time is cleansing and nourishing and nurturing and opening to the sun, opening to the warmth, opening to the joy. As I mentioned earlier, fire dragons are actually pretty friendly. I mean, they're the most used to humans of most of the dragons. Like earth dragons are also, but they're also very much part of the earth sometimes, and they're not quite so, you know, I feel like the Ents, you know, the Ents sort of, don't be so hasty. Where the fire dragons are fire, we are beings of fire. We walk, we move, we dance, we have our passions, and they can really get on board with that. So for the most part, fire dragons are really quite friendly and human used to beings. So you get a really good chance. I know we started the hard way. We started with air, where it was quite possibly hard to get that connection. I hope, unless you're really afraid of fire, and if you are, just be gentle with yourself. Take your time. Ask for any guidance if you wish. Don't use real fire if it worries you, or a very small candle flame. You know, this is about transforming. So if you transform a bit of that fear or transform a bit of that connection, association with fire, then that's going to be a really powerful thing. So just do this gently with yourself, and be aware that fears are coming from somewhere to be looked at, and to be healed and transformed. And so just be really, you know, kind to yourself. That's why we're also starting off with a gentle fire, a kindling rather than an inferno. And enjoy this connection, because maybe you'll find it easier maybe than the air dragons were. So we'll have more rituals to come. I think the first one's going to be cleansing, and then we're going to be dancing our wishes, dancing our dreams tomorrow. After we've cleared the space today, dancing dreams tomorrow. Again, you don't have to dance, but you know, no one's going to see. And I think dancing is fantastic, and it's good to get that fire moving. It's also good with dance, with movement. You can do it anyways, just really slow if you like, whatever works. But any physical movement helps move the emotions and the blocked energy through the body. So as we're making our wishes, we're opening up and we're shifting any blocks, and we're allowing good new energy in. So yes, that's the beginnings. I will not overwhelm you. I know I've been going on for quite a while already. These are the ways in which the dragons came through. If you'd like to do some more research on fire dragons themselves, if you've done Dragons Awakening, you can go back to the fire section. And for those that are doing Dragons Awakening, that's actually next week's topic. So there'll be more chance to learn about fire dragons in a more, you know, in more of a context of what they've meant to folklore and mythology. But right now we're going to get involved with more personal transformation. It's very physical. It's very in our bodies. It's being aware of how the sun and the warmth and fire brings everything, only in balance of course, back to life. And also we know the imbalance. You know, we know when things, we have forest fires, you know, when you have infernos. And it's interesting that we are in that time of balance with the equinox and the moon in Libra, that is teaching us to be healthy and to have balance with these things. So that's how we're starting. If you have already connected with fire dragons, you may find that your fire dragon guide will come with you. You may find that a new one comes in. But we're going to do more of a drum journey tomorrow and a guided one today. And then we'll have another journey in the week, and we'll meet up on next Sunday. Any questions, please let me know. Please share all your experience and thoughts and feelings about it all in the page, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.